Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dig into the nitty-gritty of corporate filings to uncover the hidden stories. Today we're looking at Helio Corporation's latest report, and let's just say they've been busy little bees making some interesting deals. So this is a Form 8K filing, which basically means something important just happened that shareholders need to know about right away. Think of it as a company's way of shouting out big news. A lot of this report sets the stage, telling us who Helio Corporation is, where they're based, and that they're considered an emerging growth company, which means they get a little extra leeway with some financial reporting rules. But enough of the preamble, let's get to the meat of the matter. Helio Corporation has entered into some new agreements for what they call convertible promissory notes. Now, what does that mean in plain English? Well, it means they borrowed money, but with a twist. They brought in some investors, and these aren't your average loans. These are notes that can be turned into company stock. They did two deals. One on the 12th of January and another on the 14th of January. For each deal, the company issued notes worth $165,000 each. But here is the kicker. They only got $150,000 for them. That difference, that $15,000, is what they call an original issue discount. It is like buying something for less than its face value, and it usually signals that the company might be in a bit of a pinch or is trying to entice investors with a deal. The company received net cash of about $133,000 from each of these transactions after paying fees. They plan to use this money for general business expenses and to keep things running. These notes are set to mature in 12 months, but the real interesting part kicks in when we talk about interest and repayment. These notes have a one-time interest charge of 10%, which is already factored in. If things go really wrong and they call it an event of default, the interest rates can jump significantly. For one note, it could be up to 22% per year, and for the other, 18%. That's quite high and shows the risk investors are taking. Now, one of these notes, the one from the 12th of January, has some specific repayment schedules. They have to make a big payment of over $90,000 in July, then a few monthly payments between August and December, and finally pay off whatever is left in January of the next year. Missing any of these payments is considered a serious problem. The other note doesn't have these upfront payment requirements. And here is where it gets really spicy with these convertible notes. The investors can choose to turn these notes into actual shares of Helio Corporation stock. They can do this if a default happens or if the company misses a payment. The price they get for these shares is a discount. It's either 90% of the lowest stock price over 10 trading days before they convert, or a fixed price of 50 cents per S-hair, whichever is lower. If a serious default occurs, the conversion price gets even lower, down to 70% of the lowest traded price. This gives the investors a lot of power to benefit if the stock price drops significantly. As part of these deals, Helio Corporation also handed over a bunch of company stock called commitment shares to the investors. For the 14th of January deal, they also gave the investor a warrant. A warrant is basically an option to buy more stock in the future. In this case, up to 330,000 shares at 50 cents a share. This warrant can be exercised for cash or even without cash if there isn't a way to register the shares for sale, and it lasts for 5 years. This adds even more potential for dilution of existing shareholder value. The company is also filing under sections related to new financial obligations and unregistered sales of equity securities. This basically means they've taken on new debt, which creates a financial obligation, and they've sold stock or securities that haven't been registered with the proper authorities. They're relying on certain exemptions in the law to make these sales. They've also listed all the official documents related to these agreements as exhibits. These are the actual contracts, the notes themselves, and the warrant. These are the detailed legal agreements that govern these transactions. Now, looking at the bigger picture here, Helio Corporation appears to be in a situation where they need cash, and they're willing to offer significant sweeteners to investors to get it. The convertible notes with their aggressive conversion terms, especially in case of default, and the issued warrants all point towards potential future dilution for existing shareholders. This is a common strategy for companies that might be facing financial challenges or are in a growth phase where they need capital quickly. The big question is whether this influx of cash will be enough to turn things around or propel them to the next level, or if it's just a temporary fix that comes with a high price for current shareholders down the line. So, what's our take on Helio Corporation's latest moves? On the one hand, they're getting capital, which is essential for any business. However, the terms of these agreements seem quite unfavorable to existing shareholders. The deep discounts on conversion and the warrants suggest that the company might be facing significant financial pressure or has very high hopes for its stock price to justify such terms. A key risk here is the potential for massive dilution if the company doesn't perform well and the stock price drops, triggering those favorable conversion terms for investors. If the company executes well and the stock price soars, the convertible notes might be paid off or converted at a much higher price, benefiting all. However, based on these terms, the deck seems heavily stacked in favor of the new investors. Alright, that's our breakdown of Helio Corporation's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think these deals are a smart move or a sign of trouble? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for more discussions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.